At this point, we're totally done with sort. Now in the real world, of course, we would make a more thorough testing suite for our sorting method instead of just the single call. But for our purposes, in 61B today, we'll call it a day. So I'd like to reflect a little bit on the process we took to get here and focus on some of the most important points I want you to take away. So when you build things in the real world, in a classroom environment, for whatever projects you might want to do, the process is often incremental, where you have to keep switching back and forth between things that are completely different that you're thinking about, and even making changes to the entire design of your project in the middle of working. So we saw that just now, that in the middle of writing our sort method, right, we had to totally change the signature of find smallest and make sure it also worked. That's pretty common. And what's great about tests is they provide a way for you to not have to hold so much stuff in your brain at once. So we have some scaffolding, like we can set some piece of our brain on it so it just sits there safely without having to support all of its own weight. It's kind of a weird analogy, but okay. And so what I mean by that is, like with test sort, for example, we were able to switch to test find smallest for a little while, focus on find smallest, and then get back to the context that we were in before, which was working on sort. Maybe it's hard to watch this video and see me hopping around, but basically we were working on sort, we then switched over to find smallest, and then we're able to switch back. And what tests did is they made it easy to switch back and forth between those contexts because we could focus on only one at a time. Another nice thing about it is these tests provide stability, where you know that the basic pieces of your code work. There's this basic bedrock upon which the rest of your program is written. Find smallest, swap, and you have this just really great sense that those little pieces work, so that if you make changes somewhere in your code, you have all of these tests that are able to evaluate all the pieces and tell you when anything breaks. And I think that's such a great thing. Now, when it comes to larger projects, what's so good about tests is it allows you to refactor code. And by refactor, I mean take existing pieces of code and change them in ways that make them more efficient, easier to read, just some general improvement, but still has the same function, and still know that it works. So let's suppose I wanted to totally change the approach that I use for find smallest. Maybe I use a while loop instead of a for loop, or who knows what, because I think I have a faster or more efficient way. Well, it can do that and then see that the function still does the right thing. And that ability to refactor is really nice. Or I can decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to try and do it with find largest instead. Well, I have all these tests that test all the other pieces, and so it's not that hard to switch to a find largest based solution instead. Okay? And what you'll find is that in project 2, when you get there, which is on the horizon, you're going to rewrite all kinds of stuff where you realize, oh wait, this idea was just broken in some fundamental way, or that seems inefficient. Let's make a new version of that. These tests will make your life much easier. Having tests for all those little pieces will make it much, much easier to make sure that the entire whole that is your program is able to function. Okay, so that's some of our process. Now there's one last problem that I want to resolve in code, which is the issue of our tests. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next video, but basically it's annoying to have to keep uncommenting and commenting these.